Hi, I'm Lori Burstein, First Selectman of Ellington. I'm here with Ray Chenard from Fayette Lodge 69, right in Ellington. And Ray, can you tell us a little bit about, it's a Masonic lodge.
Absolutely. So yes, we're right here in Ellington, and we are a Freemason lodge, as you pointed out, and we have been in Ellington up on Orchard Street. So most people, if you're a resident of Ellington, know where the middle school is, and so you'd head up there on Middle Butcher, and you hang a right onto Orchard, headed over to Rockville. We've actually been physically there since 1948, and we actually purchased the property because it was the Apostolic Church. So before the Swiss Church was built down the street on Middle Butcher.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so we've been there for quite a while, but the organization of Fayette alone has been around. We just celebrated our 200th anniversary last year.
That's wild.
So we were chartered originally in 1825, and we first met in the center of Ellington, what was known then as William Morgan's Tavern. And if you could think of any kind of colonial revolutionary times, a lot of people were meeting at inns and taverns, those kind of settings. So that's where we...
So was that the tavern? Where was that located in Ellington?
So it's a law office now, and it's not too far away from the town hall, so not too close from your offices there. But the building, the structure at least is still there, not in the sense of having it as a tavern as it once was.
Yep. I know where it is now.
Yeah.
I can visualize it.
And through, our early beginnings, we were meeting at different taverns, so we kind of hopped around to a couple other ones in Ellington. Then we did, for a little while, settle in West Main in Rockville, because us being right on the border, that was just a convenient place. But then in 1948, we were able to buy up that property on Orchard Street, and we've called that home ever since. So I just can't say how funny it is that so many people drive by it all the time and never really get to understand that we have a Freemason lodge in Ellington. So I'm always more than happy to get the word out and share about it.
And they've probably had events there and didn't even realize too. Like I had like a baseball party or something years ago there. So there has been events. So I was like, oh, that's right. This is the lodge. I remember.
We've absolutely used the space to have local organizations. Recently, we had the Ellington tennis team a few years back. They did an award ceremony. We've had Boy Scout troops meet out of there. I know in the basement years ago, I was cleaning it out and I just saw the soapbox derby track.
Oh,
and,
yep.
So you can tell that there's definitely been a lot of other activity, but besides ours, and some people may not dawn on them and say, oh, actually, I do know that property.
Yeah.
And it has a great history to itself too, because like I said, it was first the Apostolic Church.
Yeah, definitely.
And going way back, it was even for them operated as like a place of worship, but also a schoolhouse at one time.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so it has a fun little history to it.
Now, what is your role in the Masons? I know you're part of the lodge, but you're also district
deputy.
District deputy. That's
absolutely. Right. So, in Connecticut, the structure of our organization is that there are individual lodges spread throughout the state of Connecticut. All the way down from Greenwich, all the way up into Woodstock, so kind of spanning the distance, east to west of the whole state of Connecticut. And then every individual lodge reports up into our structure to the Grand Lodge of the state of Connecticut. So I am a member, and I would refer to that as my mother lodge, which is there in Ellington, and that's Fayette 69. And then I also am concurrently the district deputy of the district, which is 9B. There's 9 districts, and then all of them are split off again into A and B subsections. And so 9B includes Ellington, the lodge in Stafford, which is Wolcott Lodge 60, the lodge in Mansfield, which is called Uriel Lodge 24, and then there's also one in Wyndham, which is called Ionic Lodge number 110. So right now I am halfway through a 2-year term of being the district deputy, and that also does make me a Grand Lodge of Connecticut officer. So I kind of have a little bit of, I'm very much a member of Ellington, but now I have that participation.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that.
That's pretty neat.
It's kept
big
myself
role.
a little busy.
Yeah.
The past year and a half. And
That's
so,
great.
but it's good to just kind of oversee the other lodges. But of course, I do have that soft spot for Fayette Lodge, being that I've been there for about 10 years now. In 2026, I joined back in 2016.
Plus growing up in Ellington as well.
Of course, growing up
Yeah.
in Ellington, I will absolutely hold that one near and dear. But I love all my other lodges that I oversee right now, very much so. And I do a lot of traveling, to Mansfield or Stafford or Wyndham. So it's always nice to get out there and also just kind of cross-contaminate different ideas and different events or what other things people have in the pipeline there that they're hosting at the lodge, et cetera.
And you do a lot of community outreach too, and like a lot of stuff connecting to the community for the greater good.
Absolutely. So just in general, the fraternity of Freemasonry, our three tenets are really rooted in faith, hope, and charity. The faith in whatever, spiritual background you may have, hope for the betterment of all of mankind, and charity to try to support your local communities. And charity is something we definitely take very serious in Ellington, and we are always trying to connect ourselves to whether it's local events, like we know we have Earth Day coming up,
Yep.
and so we love to participate in that. We participate and collaborate with the local Lions Club, that they do their Trail of Treats in the fall time down there at Robert Tedford Park, which is always very well attended, and we're glad to have a presence there.
That's great.
We also host blood drives throughout the course of the year. Right now, this year, we're slated for 4. We have one in the books that we did in January, and then we'll have one on March 29th, and then we'll also have one on May 31st. And
Very important stuff.
yeah, and I believe that for every donation of blood, you can save up to 3 to 4 lives. So
Wow.
every little bit matters. And I know giving blood can sometimes be a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience, particularly for those who may be a first-time donor. But we always say, come down, and worst case scenario, if you back out of it, we'll have plenty of donuts and snacks and
Yeah.
other fun treats to offer you. So, but absolutely, like you said, we definitely love giving back to our community. Another thing we like to do as well is we have our meetings once a month. And so the one in Ellington, we meet on the second Tuesday of every month. We do get to take off July and August, so it gets a little bit warm sometimes during those summer months. So everyone gets their summers off. It feels like school again. You kind of get your time to do your vacations or
And
your
then you
family
catch up
plans.
again.
And then we get right back into it in the fall. And so every month, we also like to ask all of our members to come down and bring with them just a handful or a few canned goods, dry goods, all those things that local food pantries are in need of. And so we will oscillate between the Ellington Human Services or Cornerstone over in Rockville, or also the Crystal Lake Food Pantry. So we kind of try to spread
They're
it
always
amongst them.
in need too. That's so
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah, knowing especially the winter that we've somehow been surviving
Yeah.
in this, torrential New England winter that we've had. I'm sure the demand has been high, and the supply probably isn't commiserate enough to meet that demand. So we do our best that we can try to give back and contribute to that supply as best as possible.
It's
And
very appreciated.
and there's a lot of other great organizations that we also try to support. When you become a Freemason in Connecticut, a lot of your yearly membership fees that you do pay, which is not anything that's too arduous or too expensive, but you're always going to pay a chunk of that to that Grand Lodge of Connecticut. And so a lot of people, even though it's kind of right there in front of them, they may not pick up on it, but the main organization in our philanthropic cause that we support is the Masonicare, so assisted living facilities.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, and they're down there in Wallingford.
Sure, a lot of people have heard of that.
Many people do, and we all know we have either a family member or a friend or someone
Yeah.
who might work in healthcare, and then they've heard that name of that facility,
Very well known.
but maybe not put 2 and 2 together because Masonicare and Freemason,
There you go.
it goes hand in hand right there, exactly. So, and that's a business in and of itself, and they've been expanding, and they've acquired even some additional properties. So I know they're in towns all across Connecticut, in Shelton and Rocky Hill and Newington. They have their main primary campus in Wallingford, of course, but they just do excellent work. And if anyone's ever had a family member who was a resident or stayed there for any time, typically that's always the
Yeah.
feedback we get, is just the facilities there are top notch and the people that work there are great.
That's just so wonderful.
Absolutely. And it means a lot that, even every dollar you're spending in your membership, it's going to go towards somewhere
Yeah.
that's doing some good.
Yeah.
And even the portion of your membership
Has a lot of
fees-
meaning.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And if it's to your own individual lodge or if it is at that state level, every dollar counts, and it's always doing some benefit for the greater good.
And there's a connection too with the Manchester Road Race you were telling me,
So
which I was
yeah.
very interesting little tidbit.
absolutely. So there are actually what we refer to, they are called appendant bodies. So when you first become a Freemason, you have to gain your full membership in that group, in that organization. From there, you then have the ability, and you can go out, and many times people also don't know that these are associated to being a Freemason, but the Shriners is one example. And
Yeah.
for those of us perhaps in Ellington and North Central Connecticut, right up the road there in Springfield, we know that there's a Shriners Hospital there. So that may be another sub-organization or an appendant organization you can choose to join. I haven't gotten that quite far yet because there's many out
Yeah.
there that I am a part of. And one of those ones is called the Tall Cedars of Lebanon. And that is specifically Nutmeg Forest 116. And as you alluded to, there is a fun fact rooted with that organization, is that they were the founding sponsor for the Manchester Road Race. And every year, a representative from that organization will go out and they'll hand the men's and women's first place. They'll do that at the awards ceremony right there at the middle school on Main Street there in Manchester.
It's a very iconic race.
And it's absolutely grown to be
Yeah.
larger than life.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's like people
international.
come from all over the world to participate.
Exactly.
And it's not Thanksgiving unless it's Thanksgiving in Manchester.
Isn't that right? Yeah. Unless you see some people on
Running.
Main Street, in Manchester with inflatable turkey costumes. Or
But that was so interesting though to see that would, like, you were like the founding
sponsor on that.
Yeah, very nice.
And that's another benefit that sometimes people may not always connect initially when they're perhaps ruminating in the possibility of joining an organization like the Freemasons. They may not know that, first you have to be a member there before you can join the organization like the Shriners or Tall Cedars. Sometimes people aren't even aware that that connection exists, that to be a Shriner, you first have to be a Freemason.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is an alluring quality in and of itself for people to join our organization because they know they want to kind of graduate and move on to more contributing their time and effort with the Shriners, especially where we are in New England and in Connecticut, because we're so close to the Shriners Hospital that a lot of people like to go up, and maybe dress up with a red nose and a rainbow wig and be a clown or read some stories to children up at the hospital. All those opportunities exist, and that's always why I
Such good stuff.
try to advocate the best for joining Freemasonry, because of how you can give back.
And can anybody join, or do you have to have a family history of Masons? Like, how is that? How do you go about that?
That is a great question. So in contemporary times now, if you're interested in joining Freemasonry, you first would have to be a man that's 18 years old, and you can choose based on your geographical location. If we're speaking in Ellington, we would want you to come up to Fayette Lodge here on Orchard Street, but you can fill out paperwork and petition to join, and it's not as stringent of a requirement as it may have been in yesteryear, where you needed that kind of family member connection in order to join. So that's loosened up a little bit, because we're always curious to see if we can get more participation for some good quality participants to join the ranks of Freemasonry. So if anyone were to be interested, you can get in touch with us, which will plug all that information and contact information, and you can just fill a petition out. And then we'll start the process of just reaching out and having a conversation and speak about the requirements and all the expectations behind that. And for those who may also think, well, if that's the men's organization, well, we also have our women's organization as well, and they're referred to as Eastern Star. And like many kind of civic and community groups, membership has maybe shrunken a little bit in modern times, but there still is very much a presence of Eastern Star in the state of Connecticut. So that is always a viable option where any ladies interested to try to participate in a Masonic organization. And we also have a youth.
That's what I was going to ask, because 18, but do you have a youth? Okay.
Absolutely. So we also have a youth boys and a youth girls group. And for the boys is actually called DMOLE. And you have to be 12 years old to join that. Also, there's a pretty strong contingency in Connecticut for that organization, and that's a great one because a lot of those events are kind of focused around bowling outings and maybe going to a soup kitchen or trying to build something for
really
a local
nice.
group or a bench, picnic table, things like that. And then the youth girls group is called Rainbow Girls. Similarly, if you're a girl that's 12 years old, you're eligible to then join that one as well. And similarly, just community outreach, supporting any kind of philanthropic endeavors, things of that regard.
Very neat.
Absolutely.
Now, you were in the news a couple years ago. There was a fire, wasn't there? Or?
Unfortunately, there was. And that was on the eve of New Year's 2023, and unfortunately we did have what was later to be determined as becoming a victim of arson.
Wow, that's horrible.
An investigation is underway in Ellington after police believe a man intentionally set fire to a Masonic lodge earlier Saturday morning. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Eliza Kruzinski brings us more.
This building, the Fayette Lodge here in Ellington, has been under attack not once, not twice, but 3 times just in the last few weeks. Now police are on high alert looking for a suspect and even offering a reward after a fire yesterday morning that they believe to be arson. A fire broke out at Fayette Lodge Saturday morning.
We've got big question marks hanging over our head for sure.
Police believe the fire was started intentionally. This is not the first time Fayette Lodge has been vandalized. Back in December, a brick was thrown through a window, and not even a week later, a rock was thrown through another window.
It's bizarre. It's obviously someone that has issues or a grudge against our lodge for reasons we can't even fathom.
President of the organization tells me over the phone they're here to do good for the community.
Our whole goal is just to be good citizens, help the community, to make our members better than they were when they first joined.
He says the members are keeping spirits high. In Ellington, Eliza Kruzinski, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Unfortunately, that did have to transpire to us. It did occur to us, but we were fortunate because the timing and how it all transpired. We had a neighbor, and she actually observed it and saw it and was able to call it in. So we're very, very grateful that, again, being in a community like a smaller town of Ellington and neighbors are...
People watch.
Yeah, knowing, who your neighbors are and things like that. She was able to spot that, call it in, and, we have a little bit of an older building. And so perhaps
Older
a few
wood
more
and
minutes,
stuff.
it could have really went...
I hope the damage wasn't too much. That's just so horrible.
It was, certainly took its time to rebuild, and it was something that we thought was unfortunate, but it did kind of bring us together, at least as, as a group.
It just makes you stronger as a community going through something like that.
Absolutely, and we can recall, we did do a GoFundMe, and after all the local news outlets did arrive, and that one was pretty well distributed to all the local cable channels. But when the GoFundMe got out, we were actually able to raise almost about $20,000, which was significant because
That's wonderful.
It helped with insurance deductibles.
You see
and
the
costs.
community come forward and show their support to the organization.
It meant everything to us, and we were so fortunate and blessed that so many people were willing to just put $5 or $10 into it, which
every bit helps.
I absolutely can concur to that point, because it was very well used, and we were able to rebuild the building back up, and it we've come a long way since then.
Thank
so now
goodness.
we're back up and running. We're having as many events as possible. We did have a very big celebration last year. As I mentioned, it was our bicentennial. So as
That's
we
nice.
celebrated our 200th birthday, we
Yeah,
had
especially with such a history.
and for any organization to make it 200
Yeah,
years, I
That
think
says a lot.
to stand the test of time, there is something to be said there. And we had a nice black tie gala last year. We had lots of big dinners and formal
nice.
ceremonies and presentations and all kinds of fun things. So we look forward to our next 200 years as well.
That's great.
Which would,
Keep it going strong.
yeah, and it certainly would beckon to have a few more people join. And so we're always looking for anyone who wants to give back to their community to give us a call.
And what's the ceremony like when you become finally a member? Like there must be a special ceremony, I would imagine,
Absolutely, yeah.
after going through all that.
In joining to be a Freemason, you do have to go through 3 degrees, is how we refer to it. So you would go through that process, and then on your final one, it would be a very formal ceremony and presentation with a nice reception dinner beforehand. You would see a lot of us in tuxedos that evening, and we really want to prop it up and give it that adequate pageantry that it deserves, because it is very much, it's for that person to begin their new journey.
Yeah, and it's spiritual too.
And yeah, absolutely. And it's all about one of our famous slogans was actually, making good men better, because we absolutely heavily rely on believing that, we can, through morality and character development, we can always look to improve ourselves, improve our communities. And we know that nobody's perfect, but if you're at least given it, a willing chance to be having that presence of mind, and then also surrounding yourself with people that are also like that and wanting to support the community and enhance yourself and be a better person, and all those kind of tenets of our institution, it really does give you that sense of belonging, gives you that sense of community. And, we always say that family will come first, work will come first, we always come last. So we all have busy schedules today. I think everyone can pretty much
But
attest
it's about
to that.
balancing.
Exactly. So, we're here for when you're available and able to participate. But when other things come up, for sure, you have to tend to that and take care of that. But we're always there to make sure that if people have that need or that desire for that sense of belonging, and to have that kind of natural network of brotherhood and camaraderie and again, sense of community, that that's what we're for. And we always are encouraging people to come down and check us out.
Is there something you do too in a quarry, or like in Sterling, or?
Yeah. So out in Sterling, Connecticut, there is an operating stone quarry. And so we will do a ceremony that's out there in the middle of this stone quarry.
It's very cool.
And it's quite a sight to be seen. And it is something that people are only lucky enough to experience if they first become a member. And then you can also, that would be a degree night, so a ceremony for somebody to make that final step in their membership joining process. So
Very neat.
It's good, it's tantalizing, and it's very exciting, and it's always well attended.
Yeah.
And that's in eastern part, furthest east part of Connecticut. So you'll see that when you attend those, there's always a lot of Freemasons that will come from Rhode Island and
that's
Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. We've had people who have made that drive over from New York to come and see that, because it is a spectacle and it is something that is not very common. And that's something that I'm fortunate to be a part of in District 9.
And there's a lot of like fun facts, like different people who are Freemasons that people might not realize.
There's many that I think a lot of times people might know on the surface, which is, George Washington, right? One of our founding fathers and the first president of our country. And there's also Benjamin Franklin. A lot of times people might know those two main event heavy hitter ones, but there's also like a lot more that were prevalent, especially in America, but also in Europe. But there were Colonel Sanders is another famous one. We all know him from his Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Love the Colonel.
A famous astronaut, Buzz Aldrin,
Yeah.
also a very famous Freemason as well.
And another fast food guy, right? Wendy's.
The founder of
Yeah.
Wendy's,
Yeah.
yes, Dave Williams. He also too was a Freemason. So that's a good part about joining too, is we always have a big reception dinner beforehand. So
That's really nice.
If you're interested in food and having a good appetite, then certainly also you might want to join the Freemasons.
And you brought some stuff that like you wear during your meetings.
Absolutely. So a few things that I have here with us today. I have a gavel. And if you are what is referred to as kind of the president of any individual lodge, you would have a title of being a worshipful master. So you would have a gavel, so you would be able to congregate and run your meetings. And, that makes some attention. And also, if you were in charge of your respective lodge, you would be wearing a top hat. Nobody else in your lodge will be wearing a top hat except for the person in charge. So it's kind of another indicator of, okay, who's the person that's organizing and running this meeting, and who has the agenda, and who's going to be leading us towards our next endeavor or community event. Well, that person would certainly want to be wearing a top hat. In addition to that, I also have a few other things. All Masons, once you join, you would be wearing an apron, just as our historical stonemasons in the guilds would have done back when they were building the cathedrals in Europe. And this is more ornamental, and we're not actually going to be building anything with stone during our meetings. And then we also have these jewels, or referred to as a collar. And so the example that I was able to bring out is, as this wouldn't be given to anyone unless you were an officer, and specifically for me as the district deputy, I have just a few other symbols with the square and compasses with the half moon there that denotes that I am of that office or title.
Well, if anybody's interested in joining, we'll post how to get in touch with you, because you're always looking for new membership, which is really great. And I really appreciate you coming out.
Well, Lori, I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
We are on Facebook, so we are at facebook.com/Fayette Lodge 69. And so if anyone was curious or wanted to ever just see some of the events that we're up to, we put that on our social media, and then we'll have the contact information presented here as well.
Terrific. I just wanted to let people know to please join us at Crystal Lake in Ellington on February 28th for the Polar Plunge. It's going to be fun. It's a great event. And save the date for Ellington Earth Day celebration, April 25th. And also coming at the end of the year, in October 3rd, will be America 250. We've decided to, instead of doing it in July, the committee decided October, so we could get the school involved and the students. Recently, I went to the Ellington Volunteer Ambulance Annual Awards Banquet, and it was just a really lovely event, and just reminds us of all the dedication to the men and women of the ambulance. We're just very grateful how much they take care of us. I attended the Friends of Agriculture gathering for Tolland County Farm Bureau. It was a great event, hearing many guest speakers, hearing the perspectives on what farmers are facing. I had a student who gave me a tour of, there's a program called Agricultural Science and Technology Education Program, and it was just very informative and showed me the facilities and their new building. It was very nice. Please take note of our budget dates, because it is budget season. I encourage residents to come out, ask questions. Definitely, we want to hear your voice. It's so important. Your voice really matters, so please attend our budget hearings and speak. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Ray, so much for joining.
Lori.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, I appreciate it. Thank
Have
you
a
for all
great
you
day.
do. You too.
Thank you.